Almost. Major. Holy fucking shit, this is major! Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Almost Major, where we talk about the many major studios and the films they released. Today we're talking about State Property from 2002. My name is Kevin Tudor. I'm here with Bryden Doyle.
Hello.
And Charlie Nash.
Hello.
And again, we are talking about State Property from 2002. This released on January 18th, 2002, opened in 61 theaters, maxed out at 75 theaters. There was a budget of $600,000. Opening weekend did $452,000 and a domestic and overall gross of $2 million. Top 5 films that weekend: Black Hawk Down, Snow Dogs, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, A Beautiful Mind, and the best film of this top 5, Orange County.
That's a good movie, yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a new release in January, right? Like, that was, like, I think...
Probably, yeah.
I still haven't seen it.
I've
not done my homework.
Let me guess. You've seen Snow Dogs, but not Orange County.
No, I have not seen Snow Dogs. I have seen Black Hawk. I have seen Fellowship
of
the...
movies to catch up on.
I have seen Fellowship of the Ring more than most movies, and I have seen Black Hawk Down a couple times, both of which I love. So
I need to see that. That was a big...
Oh, you haven't seen Black Hawk Down?
No.
Oh, that's like top tier Ridley.
Yeah, I need to watch that. That was a big, like, my dad rented a movie, but either A, I'm not allowed to watch it, or 2, I was like, I'm 12, I don't care about this. Where it's just like, he used to rent movies and just fucking blast the shit out of them in the living room, so I'm like, okay, great, for another 2.5 hours, I can't do really anything in my room, because it's just like...
My roommate, the last time I watched it was with my roommate a couple years ago, I think, when we were in lockdown, and I remember liking it when I watched it for the first time in college. Also a movie that my parents rented where they were like, absolutely not, like, go to bed. My roommate is a veteran, and he has a crazy story that he enlisted, and then a couple weeks later, he and a friend who also enlisted saw Black Hawk Down, and they were horrified. Like, they were just like, what the fuck did we just do? like, oh, Jesus Christ. It's really good, but also, a more fun fact, I think that's interesting, is Ridley Scott did Gladiator, that won Best Picture, after Hannibal came out, in February, like early February 2001, and people were like, what the fuck is this? And like, we're totally disappointed. Gladiator went on to win Best Picture after that. And then in December of 2001, Black Hawk Down came out, and people were like, oh, this is really, really good. Like, that's just crazy. That's wild. Like,
yeah,
they're all so different, too. Like,
yeah, I saw with this one, it was like Black Hawk Down the previous weekend was like number 59, and then it jumped up to like 1, so I guess it was still catching up from like limited theaters for Oscar consideration or whatever. Yeah, Orange County, check it out. Charlie has to watch it in the next week. Number 1 song in the U.S. this week, How You Remind Me by Nickelback. Fuck yes. But Canada has no love for our Canadian boys, because number 1 song in Canada is I Won't Be Home for Christmas by Blink-182.
What?
It was number 1 until January 19th.
I was listening to Blink-182 because I was 10 years old at this time and thought it was the coolest band to listen to at that time, and I have never heard this cover.
It was number 1 30 days after Christmas. I don't understand at all. I don't. Yeah, and I've never heard of it, but
also,
How You Remind Me, I've heard of that, and you know what? 10 out of 10. Great song.
Also, can you imagine that... I do wonder what families of Blink-182 band members would have been like around Christmas. like I can imagine those being very eccentric holidays to be spent with those 3 people. Isn't one of them like fully like into conspiracy theories?
Yeah.
Or, yeah, UFO pilled. Which
Yeah.
they always had songs on their albums. I think it was like at least 1 per album about like, because Enema of the State has like aliens exist, and then I don't know.
What's that song about?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, plot description not from Google, because Google does not have a plot description for this. Frustrated with being broke, Beans, played by Beanie Siegel, decides that the only way to grasp the American dream is to take it. I mean, Yeah, I figured. The film follows Beans and his crew, the ABM, as they take over the city, creating mayhem as their empire builds. Beans now struggles to maintain his family life while bumping heads with opposing gangsters and police. It all comes to a head when he cannot surpass the city's most notorious crew ran by Untouchable Jay, played by Jay-Z, and Dame, played by Damon Dash. The moves Beans and the ABM decide to make come with severe consequences. It makes it sound so much cooler.
It's
than it
really
actually is.
Damon Dash who he's going up against. Jay-Z,
yeah, it really
in this
is.
movie. He shows up at minute 53 and like just sort of like says like, "Oh no, you want to like, kidnap this girl? All right, cool." And he leaves. Yeah.
He looks like he's daydreaming half the time.
I mean,
also,
I was joking with you that like the scene where he's like suggesting that like to Damon Dash that they kidnap Beanie Siegel's girlfriend. He's like reclining in the seat in this car, and it's like he looks and sounds like he's ready to take a nap. Like,
yeah. Has Jay-Z acted a ton? Because I don't think I've seen another film that he's in.
Well, he is in Paper Soldiers.
Where he's in even less.
It plays like a dream sequence where Kevin Hart like breaks into Jay-Z's house and everything, and he opens the door and he's watching, and it's just like Jay-Z sitting there nodding his head to a beat, and then Kevin Hart like smiles and then like closes the door, and that's it. And Jay-Z's in the opening credits, by the way. They say like starring Jay-Z, and I'm like, oh, okay, so he's gonna have like a substantial part. Nope.
Also, the way that Kevin Hart closed that door in Paper Soldiers, it reminded me of John Lovitz in Wedding Singer, where he's like, he's losing his mind, and I'm reaping the benefits, and the curtain slowly closes on him.
Do we think Beyonce has seen this movie?
No.
No.
I don't think Beyonce has heard like Jay-Z's like first 5 albums.
She like came home one night, was like, "Hey, honey, you want to see this thing I was in?" "No, that's okay."
It's just like, I don't even think they were acting. I think they were literally in the studio mixing Hola Jovito, and they got it on tape. I don't know, because like his legit engineer is in that scene, and nobody's really acting at all. Anyways, Paper Soldiers, check it out. I guess
there's like a couple of funny scenes in it.
Yeah,
better than State Property.
Yeah, Charlie Murphy co-wrote it. Why not? State Property, written by Ernest Tron Anderson and Abdul Malik Abbott. Directed by Abdul Malik Abbott. Prior to this, directed Jay-Z's first music videos back in like 94. Directed Streets is Watching in 1998, which is pretty much a collection of music videos with a very loose plot around it. And I watched this finally for the first time today. I've seen some of the music videos that are in it. And boy, howdy, it's not good. What's even funny is, like, it's an hour long and about 40 minutes into it, they're just like, we don't have really more plot to do with, so then it just starts being Dame Dash introducing music videos.
I mean, I guess that's more plot than this movie has.
Not really, because my big thing about this movie is it feels like how in Streets is Watching or in any music video where it's just like, there's like a minute of like a story before the music actually starts. It's that for 85 minutes. Where it's just like, they thought they could act before this music video starts. No, just get to the music. That's what I want. And
also, like,
it's bad.
To say it like feels like a music video, I feel like that's like often used as a pejorative thing, but like we've seen good looking music videos before, like Hype Williams with Belly, like not to like not to be too reductive in comparisons of like movies and everything with like hip hop actors that are like crime films and everything, but like that movie looks fucking incredible and everything. This is so flat looking. Not to give my thoughts away, of course, but yeah.
No, but I mean I agree with you, Bryden. I mean, we've covered Belly a year ago on the show, and I think it was it's kind of hard not to think about Belly while watching. This.
I mean, yeah, because Anyways, we'll get to it. After this, he done shorts and music videos of artists I've never heard of. Starring Beanie Siegel as Beans. This is his first role. After this, it's very funny. There was some Letterboxd review that was just like they really tried to make it menacing that a motherfucker's name is Beans.
It's so funny when they say the drug trial of a dealer named Beans, and then I thought of like I never watched the show regularly, but I know Even Stevens just
That was what I was gonna say. I know it's revealing my age and what our generations is, but like Beans was like the short, like kind of pudgy kid who just like brought bacon everywhere in Even Stevens.
Well, it made me laugh that like near the end when Beanie Siegel was like getting like talking to his lawyers, and that one woman's like, okay, now listen, Beans, we got a really bad situation we have going on right here. This is his first role after this. Paper Soldiers in 2002. The sequel to this, State Property 2: Blood on the Streets in 2005. How is there blood on the streets? I think most of it takes place in the jail. And I guess he's in the Adam Sandler Hustle movie from last year, playing himself.
Yeah, I saw that too. I never saw that. Is it any good?
I've heard it's fine.
I've heard he's amazing. Love that Sandler's having a renaissance.
Yeah.
It seems like he always has one every, like, decade or so. And then it's always shocking where people are like, hey, he's actually good. And it's like, I mean, we've always known that.
Yeah. Just like Punch Drunk Love. Oh, hell yeah. Reign over me.
Men, Women,
Maybe
and Children.
try again.
Hey, Men, Women, and Children is awful, but he is, like, easily one of the best parts
He's
of that
pretty
thing.
good at that,
Yeah.
I liked that movie when I was in high school. I doubt it holds up. Doubt it ever did.
Oh, God.
I get that mixed up with Disconnect, and I'm pretty sure they're the same
Oh
movie,
my gosh,
right?
I was all in on those movies when I saw them.
Oh my God. I saw Disconnect in a theater, and there's a sequence where all the triptych of stories all start climaxing at the same time in slow motion, and one of them involves Jason Bateman swinging a hockey stick into a child's face. And I had to, like, I nearly had to excuse myself from laughing because I knew I was being a jackass in that
It's
theater.
while On the Nature of Daylight plays by Max Richter, and
and
also when you say the triptychs are coming together, you can say they're. Let me think about this. What's the word? Connect.
Yeah. They're coming together. They're connecting, man.
wasn't Andrea Riseborough in that movie too?
Mm-hmm. She's the reporter who's like looking at like the underage chat room, like not the underage cam performers. That's what it is. And she talks to Max Theory from Bates Motel and My Soul to Take. Yeah,
and Chloe.
Yes, of course. How can we forget?
Yeah, how can we forget Chloe?
I'm gonna have to double feature fucking Men, Women, and Children and Disconnect.
Oh God, Kevin, do it with friends or some sort of libation, like because it will not be
just
fun.
make it last longer. Anyways, Dame Dash is Boss Dame. Prior to this, apparently he's in Highlander Endgame from 2000. I did not know that.
Wait, I didn't know that was even... I knew Highlander and Highlander 2 The Quickening. What the fuck is Highlander Endgame?
I think that's like the 6th sequel.
The 6th one?
I'm pretty sure.
I haven't seen any of them. Weirdly, I watched the Highlander animated series when I was a kid.
There's an animated series?
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, those are it's an R-rated franchise from what I understand about decapitation and like whatnot, so I don't know why they were like, let's market an animated series for children, but...
Well, that reminds me when they made an animated series of Godzilla. It was just like, there's a giant kaiju in New York City, and this is just fodder for you guys. Like, we should animate this and sell it to children. This is terrible.
Yeah.
After this, he's in Paid in Full in 2002. Apparently, he's in the fucking Nev Campbell When Will I Be Loved movie from 2004.
By James Toback, yeah.
Yeah. Listed as himself, so I don't know if it's like something on TV or if he actually, I don't know. And
I don't even know what this is. I don't know what this is, and I love Nev Campbell, so I'm kind of embarrassed that I don't know what this is.
Well, I mean, Toback's a cursed person, but like, I think Ebert liked the movie at the time. I mean, you can look it up on your own time, but yeah.
And he also reprises his role in the State Property sequel, also starring most of whom this is their only acting role: Amelia Sparks, Memphis Bleak, and Jay-Z.
So, is the State Property sequel also, quote, inspired by true events?
Yeah, I forgot to look that up, but in the commentary, he was like very, 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 very lightly based on true events. I was like, oh, so you're just using this as promotion, okay. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's just based off a drug dealer from Philly, so... Which I doubt that drug dealer dealt with Jay-Z, but who's to say? Trivia! I got all of this from the commentary track, which was so enlightening. In the scene where Beans confronts E, the gun really does go off and fires the blank in the actor's hand. His reaction is authentic, and the actor didn't break character. I can tell, because he looks like he's struggling. The script was only 60 pages long, so the director had to stretch out the movie any way he could with slow-mo, etc. And lastly...
I'm sorry, I'm just imagining, like, what if we had a scene where a character just continuously steps on rakes for a good... Like,
you gotta stretch this out somehow.
Yeah.
Well, it's that music video with the guy on fire that's like probably like 20 seconds long, but they slow-mo it for so long that, yeah, that's what they do. People got hired. The director said that people got hired whether or not they could act or not.
That shows.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
there wasn't a lot of trivia in the commentary. There's a lot of the director being really impressed that Beanie Siegel could do scenes because it revolved around remembering lines. And he never said he's a good actor. He was just like, I mean, he does really great. Like, there was this monologue in the script and he remembered it. It's not like he killed it or he really brought a lot of character. It was just like, I can't believe he remembered it. It's so wild.
I literally have to record at my job a voice recording of showtimes. Like, I literally have to record a monologue of that, and I barely get paid enough for that. So that's a bare minimum, I guess. Like, I don't know.
You got to do that one time where you're like an auctioneer. You just say all the showtimes in like 30 seconds.
Honestly, there are some nights where I'm just like, I just want to go home. I'm racing through this. Like Oppenheimer is 3 hours. It screens at 7 p.m., 9 p.m. And there have been times where I'm just like, fuck! Like, I've literally done like if there's a foreign film, I'll be like, Oppenheimer is 3 hours. It's in German with English subtitles. There was one time I burped. There was one time I coughed, and I was just like, God damn it.
Leave it in. Fuck it, leave it in. Yeah. Also, who calls and wants to hear showtimes like this is O2?
Apparently, before my time, there was one person who actually did just go like, shit, and then just left it, and someone called and complained about it, because they were like, no one listens to this, and apparently there was one old person who was just like, I was very offended by the fact that...
I mean, the just leave it in seems like kind of the energy of this movie where, like, you know, by the end of it, like, yeah. You know, you get the Siegel voiceover where he's saying, I knew I'd be riding the bench, but, not like this. It's just like, why is the boss there?
There was another part where it's just like, we had a music cue right here, but we didn't get the license for the song. So there's just like 20 seconds of silence right here, and it really bugs me, but there's nothing we could do. And I was like, there's nothing you could have done?
I don't know, Kevin, you just named off a lot of those were a lot of big numbers that clearly showed that they could have done something.
Mm-hmm.
Not that this film is high budget, I'm just saying. They still had money.
I mean, it's $600,000, and compared to the movie we're talking about next week, Silver Brand, which has $500,000 and looks and feels and is acted like a real movie, it's not an excuse. A lot of the things in the commentary where it's just like, yeah, we were doing this scene, we brought her in, and it said in the script she's supposed to be topless, and she's like, I don't want to be topless. So then eventually we were trying to make sure, we were like, yeah, that's fine and all that, but then she eventually did get, and then he says that like for like 4 different women in the commentary, so that's a whole thing. And he says that he's like, yeah, it's like a running joke of everything I do for Rockefeller that just has like some lesbians making out at, I don't know why, but yeah, that's what I've been doing. And I was just like, because also I watched Streets is Watching, and legitimately a music video ends, and then it just has 2 women making out for 2 minutes, and then it fades to black, and then it just goes back into the plot.
Do you think he just used that as like? Did he just use that as like side tangent or small talk at parties, and people were just like, "Huh, interesting."
I wish he went like full like film scholar on it. It was just like, you know, just showing just how. We did tests and whatnot, and people's interest dropped out. But as soon as I put 2 women making out, that's when it shot up. And I'm really just putting that in there to show
like
just
open
how
water, where like it said like they put the sex scene at the start of it or the naked scene, because like, well, people are gonna just like check out of the movie if we don't have that in there. It's like, I feel like that's
5 minutes in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know this might be inappropriate, but I'm just imagining him being like, I screened Fritz Lang's M for the entire crowd, like for the entire cast.
That would be hilarious.
It's like, oh god.
Who's my man from M? What's his name?
Peter Lorre?
Yeah. It was just like, all right, now listen, Beanie Siegel, I need you to channel Peter Lorre in this scene. Yeah. He's like, who the fuck is Peter Lorre?
This city right here we call brotherly love. Ain't no love here.
This is the story of a hustler named Beans.
Yo, we got to talk about some business.
Who built his empire.
So you got to make it where ain't no competition.
By any means.
ABM, we all about that money.
Blood money, huh? The only kind of money there really is.
They already respect us like the old black mob. How about they gonna respect us like the new black mob? Right here. Enjoying the fruits of our labor, man.
Just when he thought no one could touch him, somebody did.
You touch my girl.
If I don't get my money, there's a good chance your chick's gonna come back pregnant.
Put your 3D glasses on them, because you know we coming straight at you.
Beanie Siegel, Jay-Z, Damon Dash, Memphis Bleak, Emilio Sparks.
Game ain't over.
It's gonna be trouble.
State property.
You gonna get down or you gonna lay down?
Okay, let's get into initial thoughts. I will go first. This is all of our first-time watches. Even though I've known of this movie for a long time, I'm a fan of Beanie Siegel, I'm a fan of Memphis Bleak, massive fan of Jay-Z and all that, but I've just always put it off because I've heard it's bad. Joke's on me, it was bad. 5 minutes in, and because it starts out in the most like basic way possible, where it's like in a strip club, and I'm just like, 2002, did y'all guys watch Sopranos? And the commentary, they were just like, yeah, we did it because of Sopranos. So it starts out, and it's literally just Beanie Siegel being like, man, we got to get money. And this guy's just like, yeah, we should. And then it just cuts to like naked women dancing for about 3 minutes. And then it comes back, and Memphis Bleak shows up, and I'm like, oh, okay. And he's talking to somebody, and the way that the acting is, I thought they were not even being serious because the acting was so bad. And then Memphis Bleak shoots this guy dead, and I was like, oh shit, I guess it's serious.
Yeah.
He was like, what's wrong? Oh, you got a problem or something? He's just like, yeah, I do. What are we gonna do about it? And then he just shoots him, and I was like, what? Where did that come from? I thought you guys were just nagging each other. I don't know. But yeah, comparison with Belly and whatnot, of course, you kind of have to make it because that's one of the first big hip-hop crime movies. Of course, there were other hip-hop movies like Who's the Man and stuff like that in the 90s, but Belly kind of lays the template for that Paid in Full is drawn comparisons to, that this is drawn comparisons to. And if you match the people up with it, like the big loud people from those movies, you got DMX and Beanie Siegel, and Beanie Siegel is no DMX in terms of screen presence, because DMX is electric and Beanie Siegel is at the same exact octave the entire movie, and it's bad.
And there's no character for Siegel either, like there is for
No.
DMX in Belly, where like that character's arc is genuinely fascinating and like complex, where it's like here he's just angry the whole movie and like, you know, just wants to take over, and then like that's basically it. And it's the help performance doesn't help. It's very well.
I even read one review that was like, Hollywood still thinks that they can hire singers and rappers to be actors, and that's proving not to pay off. And I did have that knee-jerk reaction of like, fuck you, DMX is fucking incredible in Belly. Like, shut the fuck up.
And like Tupac in like his very brief run of movie stardom in like the 90s, those are very good performances. It's like just thinking of other cases of like hip-hop performers becoming actors.
Yeah, that just pissed me off. Or just like, yeah, like, doesn't matter if like you can be a great actor and also be a musician is basically my point.
We're gonna talk about next week, but Mos Def is a great actor and he's a great rapper, so
yeah,
you got that.
Just that whole naive, really cynical ideology of like, you can't like that whole narrative that ran through the early aughts. I just really have a knee-jerk reaction to like, that's just such low-hanging fruit, so fuck off. Even though I agree that the performances are not good.
It reeks of worst actor nominees from Razzies type of mentality.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another thing I wrote down is I said, I hope the highlight isn't Beanie Siegel's just having lines of dialogues that are from rap songs, because numerous lines from this movie are just straight from rap songs where he's like, I just couldn't believe it. The streets are not only watching, but they're talking now. And that's how he starts his verse on Streets is Watching. And I was just like, okay. And of course it starts off with the needle drop of Rock the Mic with Freeway and not Memphis Bleak and Beanie Siegel, which is a great song, but then everything that's not a Rockefeller track sounds like transition music from MTV Cribs. Like, it is fucking god awful. And my favorite line of dialogue, this is an actual line of dialogue near the end, where Beanie Siegel goes, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, they did.
Yeah.
I also don't think I've seen a movie with more phone conversations. There's like 3 in every single goddamn scene, to the point where I'm just like, okay, so the entire cast as like rappers and stuff like that, and I assume people were busy and everything, so I'm like, did they just shoot everybody's scenes separately because they couldn't get them together into one scene? Like, it's really bad. Yeah, I already said about the movie being like a start of a music video, but for 85 minutes. And the director in the commentary saying multiple times that everybody did a great job because they remembered their lines. And also the whole movie is basically just an advertisement for Rockaware, so cool.
I mean, yeah, like, I'm not always like privy to that, but I'm like thinking like, oh, that's a guy wearing a Rockaware shirt. And then another. And now there's another person wearing the same shirt. I'm like, okay, come on. Like,
yeah, the director said that once Beanie Siegel and his boys start getting up in the world, that's when they start wearing Rockaware. And I'm like, so you're putting in the person's mind that once you start being somebody, you start wearing Rockaware. I was like, that's the worst advertisement. Like, most obvious advertisement bullshit.
It would have been funny too if like at the end of the movie there's like a group of characters who are talking about like going to a matinee of movies. It would have been funny if like saying like, oh yeah, I saw this person at a matinee of a movie called let me just check what it was called, Paid in Full, and everything. They just start if they doubled down on it more, that might have been funny. But like, yeah.
And also it's like, oh, you're wearing a shirt from Rockaware. Who's involved in Rockaware? Jay-Z? Who's Jay-Z? Because in this movie he's somebody else, so this doesn't make sense. That's where I stopped believing in the movie, because I was like, I can't suspend my disbelief this long.
Stop believing in it's a very funny phrase. I'm sorry, I no longer believe in you.
Well, it was about 30 seconds in, but yeah.
Well, there's the rock and there's a point in the movie where there's a rock that has the word faith on it, and you're like, I don't have that anymore.
I mean, it's hard not to when it's just there up front in literally the center of the frame. Like,
one that also the only person that like has any type of charisma is Dame Dash, and it's just Dame Dash being himself, because Dame Dash is a fucking asshole. Like, if you read anything about him in just like recent interviews where me and my friend will quote where Dame Dash is just like, you're a grown man listening to another grown man, or whatever the fuck he said. Yeah, he sucks, and there's a reason that Jay-Z doesn't associate with him anymore. Anyways, but yeah, he like, and like most of his stuff is improv, and he's just going off, and it's very fun. And his brief part in Paper Soldiers is even funny, where Memphis Bleak is in it, and they're robbing a house. And Memphis Bleak will not stop saying rap lyrics. And they're just like, yeah, I know, we're going to get him to the studio. And he's just like, mind right, money right, ready for war. And fucking Dame Dash is like, I know, we're going to get you to the studio. It's going to be okay.
That is pretty funny, yeah.
But yeah, that's the only person. And of course I love Jay-Z, but he does not want to be there whatsoever, like at all. And he's second build, and that's just the biggest crock of shit ever.
He's on the poster, and like I said, shows up so late in the movie. I was like, where is he?
Yeah, second build. He's in two different scenes. One of them is a phone conversation. No, there's two that are phone conversation. One is in like speak that is like decoded speak, and then another one is just him just being like, all right, see you later.
It did make me think of that prompt where it's like, for the first 50 minutes everyone should be asking, where's Jay-Z?
Jay-Z, you look like you have something to say, don't you? Yes, I certainly do. But yeah, I probably have more to say, but who wants to go next? All right, Bryden, go next.
Sure. I talk about another movie I absolutely... why am I saying another movie? This is a movie I would never have finished if we had not been watching it for the podcast. I thought this was pretty fucking dire. You know,
just give you artisan PTSD a little bit.
It's better than some of the movies we watch for Artisan, I would say. But like it is like
this or House of the Dead.
This is better.
Ringmaster,
I would say.
This
is better than
Ringmaster. Not to play my hand, but I'd rather watch House of the Dead over this.
Same.
House of the Dead is fun. This just made me depressed.
Please
keep going.
This is shorter, which is always a bonus.
Doesn't feel it.
No, it doesn't. There's the occasional bit. Like, I wish like this had leaned into sort of like the grim comedy of it all and everything, where like there is like the occasional like, you know, diss line that is like really funny when he's just like, I mean, the line that I was quoting to you guys was like when Beanie Siegel goes like, put your 3D glasses on because I'm coming straight at you and everything. Like, it's just like so
pretty good.
weird. And then like also like when he calls like when he's just like mumbling, it's like basketball playing ass, and I'm like, why is that like part of the insult?
Get his ass. He
Look at
plays
this
basketball.
fucking nerd playing sports. Be cool.
He's a nerd because he plays sports.
Yeah.
Reminds me of that John Cena line from Blockers where he opens the door and sees a bunch of nerds and he's like, play sports.
That's a great line. Yeah. But like the movie is just like so dour and like one note and everything, where it's just and like I've joked with you, not to say like make this like, you know, all about me or anything, but like there was like it made me think after a certain point of like when I was in my grade 10 drama class in high school. We had to do a play based on like based on like a true event, and at that point I just rewatched Goodfellas and was like, hey, why don't I do like a 15-minute play about like the Goodfellas characters? Now I went to a Christian school, so like not only did I have the challenge of like making this play short for like a 30 or hour long class, but also I had to like cut out all the swearing. So basically like the play was just people walking into rooms and then talking for a couple minutes and then shooting each other just on repeat, and often we were playing like multiple different characters. So I was watching this movie and like it's mostly just like people walk, like you said, Kevin, like walk into a room, mumbling some dialogue to each other, and then just someone getting like brutally murdered, and then like
Yeah.
it just sort of like and then like casually like transit, but it's all like done like in a very low key manner and everything, where like it's but like not in a way that's chilling. It's just like like a very relaxed like generic hip hop beat playing under it, and like like wide shots where it's just people just sort of like standing around. Like there's the scene where like Beanie Siegel and his buddy, they go to, I don't know if did they go to Miami to meet with like the drug dealers and like the big white mansion where like
I think
the top was,
yeah.
it looked like Miami. And
They
like
shot
there's,
it in
like,
New Jersey, but yeah.
Okay, there you go.
They were like, we found a house that looked like Miami, and I was like, looks like, okay, sure, yeah.
And like they and there's like the bit where like Beanie Siegel is like thinks that like they might have to like they might be getting double crossed or whatever, and like you think like, oh, that like in a better movie you would like exploit that tension of like thinking that like the situation can go sideways at any moment, but it's just filmed in like a wide shot where it's just Beanie Siegel like kind of like quietly arguing with his friend, and it's just like, and then everyone just sort of like peters out of the frame and everything, like no, sorry, they walk out of the frame and the scene just sort of peters out, which is like mostly like, I mean, there's so many scenes where it's like characters just like sitting inside. The scene will end with like a character just sitting alone in silence for a few seconds before like we cut away. Or,
Yeah.
like, it's either that or like it will be like cut to the bone where it's like a character will be like speaking mid-sentence and then like dissolve like into another shot, and it's like they weren't done. Why'd you cut like there? It's like it's so choppy and like ineptly put together, and pacing wise too, it's like a problem. I mean, this is also a problem in Paper Soldiers, where it's like how much time is exactly passing, and here it's like it's baffling where like in the first 5 minutes it's like several weeks later one scene passes, then it says 1 year later, and it's just like whoa. Yeah, and it's just I don't know. I found, and yeah, you're right that like the performances are all like really one note. There's the blatant product placement. All the women are like, either just like damsels in distress or like eye candy. And like the movie, like not only just, and like it's like, depiction, not endorsement and everything, but it is like a character, shot of like a woman like walking in like slow motion, seen from behind and from the front while like sucking on a lollipop. And then like characters will be like talking about like, oh, they're always on the come up looking for money and or anything. And also, and then like there's a character will say like, oh, she's got a nice ass, but fuck her. And like, there's like such like aggressive misogyny, and there's no like critique to it. It just is just like kind of there, and there's nothing. And it's just like,
can I also say, just from an aesthetic level, on top of the misogyny, it's literally just like shot, reverse shot, shot, reverse shot, shot, reverse shot. There's nothing even stylistically going on there. Like,
there's no sense of desire in anything.
No, there's not even like a sense of lust. And like don't get me wrong, I don't want them to objectify this woman. It's just like, but there's not even like
put a beat under it so I can at least listen to it. Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah, like that's the thing. The music isn't like, it's not good. Like none of the music sticks out to me. I mean, like you just named a couple of songs like that were playing at the start of the movie. It's like, but that I don't remember any of it because it's not set to anything interesting looking.
Well, yeah, and those are songs that I do like, but it's not like when I listen to those songs in the future now, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, this was in that one scene of State Property. Nope, I'm not gonna remember that.
Yeah, and it's just like, I don't know. I feel like there's like, this movie feels like it's like trying to say something important and everything, but it's just like the most like basic insights where it's like, you know, there's a line where like Beanie Siegel's narrating, so much narration, where he's like, when you're behind the trigger about to rock somebody, you think, damn, I got a family at home. And then you see them bring, you know, cake at a birthday party. It's like, yeah, family, pretty common concept.
They also seem really bored by that birthday party too, where they're just like, "All right, here's the cake." Like,
exactly.
He said in the commentary that they had a scene of them singing "Happy Birthday," and they were like, "You have to take that out. That costs way too much money." He was like, "I didn't know that."
What? Oh, I guess that makes sense. It's
yeah.
It makes total sense, but at the same time, like, you can do something else. I don't know.
Oh, I know. And like Beanie Siegel's family, like first of all, I thought it was just one, like a girlfriend, and then at one point I was like, oh, it's just like a side piece, and then now it's just like, oh, that's my baby's mother, and I was just like, what? I was like, I don't get that at all, that she means anything to you until she gets kidnapped, and even then you're just like, well, I don't want her to die because then I'll look like a bitch in front of Dame Dash.
It's all an inconvenience. It's all about like proving. It's all like toxic masculinity without like even commenting on it. It's
exactly.
like,
the movie's has nothing to say about it. It's just.
Yeah. It has nothing to say, period, is the thing.
Yeah, well, it's just like stuff like, you know, oh, this is blood money. Only kind of money there is. Like, it's like, hilarious. Okay, like, yes, America's run on capitalism. Thank you. I've seen a movie before. But also, the thing too, and like, there's like the occasional bit of like, you know, dark comedy that like that shows these characters' hypocrisies and everything when like, you know, they're like having the meeting with the jeweler and like, you know, the one guy asked Beanie Siegel, like, saying, like, hey, so, like, what's happening to that one guy who wants to, like, undermine you? And then Beanie Siegel, like, he's, like, not even, like, hiding the fact that he's, like, talking to him about, like, murder in front of this jewel guy and everything. He, like, says, like, Blizzard ain't shit and everything. It's fine. And then they just go back to, like, talking about, like, jewels and, like, mundane purchases. And it's like, oh, that's, like, kind of an interesting idea of, like, you know, where it's, like, just showing, like, the very, like, thin line between, like, just sort of like mundane business and like this very like cold-blooded activity and everything. But even then, like, it's fumbled in the execution where like the scene just sort of like where it's like a guy saying like, do I have the money to buy this? And it'll like cut to black and then it'll be like cut to like Beanie Siegel giving a speech by the poolside, and it's just like, man, there's just like no rhythm to this movie whatsoever. It's just like, yeah. So I found this to be like a pretty dreary watch, but and because like I don't know. I don't think the piece. I don't really. I feel like I may be being a bit generous. There are not really a lot of signs that this could have been good, but you know, it's just. But like I said, like, you know, when we're talking about like, you know, hip hop genre films, it's like, you know, like these can be good, and it's just like this is unfortunately just not one of them. Yeah. Charlie, I would love to hear your thoughts on this movie, though. I know you've been.
I'm with both of you, and for the record, just before I say anything, I am not well versed in hip hop. Like the genre or even the filmmaking, like,
okay, but I am, and this is garbage. So
okay, good.
So it's not like, oh, you just don't get it, and it's just like, what is there to get?
But it is, and like, I know these are obviously not the only two films that we talked about. Belly and how that had like a 19% on Rotten Tomatoes. There's another film that we're gonna be talking about next week where like there is a certain critical consensus around the time that certain movies are released where they get a bunch of white people also, and as a white cis man, like, that just completely trash these movies and don't even try and get into, like, you read pieces about how certain people are like, this is garbage, without them even trying to get into the core themes or even empathize with what these movies are trying to be about. And I got 10 minutes into this thing and I was like, what's even going on here? And then I saw it at a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's no fun to pick on a low budget film that barely exists, that is also a hip hop film that made by a lot of talented people, that is, you know, it really depressed me watching this thing. Like, it wasn't even a bad, like, hate watch. It genuinely bummed me out to be like, because if anything, the fun thing would be if one of us was just like, actually, this is good. Like you know what I mean? Like, actually, there's positive merits to this thing. This, I agree with everything everybody's saying. Like, it just made me feel terrible watching it. Like, on a, I find I found like little to no merit just watching this thing, which made me feel absolutely awful. In like, I didn't find it interesting thematically, visually, in terms of like what even the soundtrack. I was just like, it all feels monotonous and it all feels very one note and one dimensional, and I found it very, as you so appropriately put it, Bryden, dour. I mean, I think 15 minutes into this thing, I texted you guys, I'm like, is this just going to be the same scene for like the entire movie? And yeah, like it's almost like they get to the end of every scene and they cut and they're like, someone has to die, you know, like someone has to, and there's no weight to the violence. There's no insight into anything going on. I mean, Kevin, you brought it up. Like, it literally starts off with them in a strip club and being like, look, you got to take the American dream and just, you got to go for it. And then I don't have a problem with the fact that it flashes forward, but there's no, like it just cuts past all of the difficult stuff and just is like, well, now I have a house and now I have a family and now I have this. And it's like, okay, how did that impact you? Like, how did you change as a person? Like none of that. And I'm not saying the movie has to be about that, but there's no interest in getting into any type of even sociological or psychological impacts about any of these people. They're just stock figures to be immersed in crime in a way that doesn't even, it's not even stylized. It's not like the film looks flat. Like there's nothing going on here. It really just felt like a slog. I hope, like, it bummed me out. It really bummed me out in multiple ways as someone who tries to find some type of merit in like anything. I was just like, I was grasping at straws, just trying to be like, no, there could be something here. Not, there really isn't anything. And it's not the type of bad movie that you get pleasure out of even making fun of, or even like the squibs are bad. The blood squibs are bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no weight to the violence. There's no catharsis. There's no emotional impact. It's just, at times I couldn't even, like, I always knew what was going on thematically and what they were getting at in terms of, you know, where the plot was going, but there were times where I was like, I don't know where, like, what's going on in this scene. And maybe that's just me being really tired and going through a lot lately, which I won't deny that I have been, but it really bummed me out. And I found it even difficult, and this is on me. I will just lay my own feet to the fire. This is on me. I found it difficult to focus on this film. Like, not since Chelsea Walls have I been like, oh my god, it's hard to even, like, fixate on something. Like, and as you mentioned, Bryden, there are certain edits where I'm just like, wait, what? Like, there's a scene with Jay-Z and
Damon Dash.
Damon Dash, that just, like, at one point it just cuts to them. It's a slightly, like, it's already close up of them in the car, and then it goes slightly closer, and I'm like, but there's nothing happened in that edit. You know, like, it's just sloppy.
Yeah.
And
the edit that got me is like when they're like, it's a Beanie Siegel narrating about something, and like someone like is sitting in a chair and they cross their legs and it freeze frames and it like zooms in on it. I'm like, why is that the shot that you're zooming in on? That's not dramatic looking. Yeah. It looks just stupid. Yeah.
And for the record, I love violent films, stylized films and stuff like that, but what they seem to be fixated on are the types of danger that these types of people go through, and there's not even any sense of gravitas or like anything. No. When these shootouts happen, they're not shot well, they're not edited well, it's just flat. Like,
yeah, like you said, like, you don't mind the time passage, but it's like there's like the murders that happened like before, like the jump in time to like 1 year later, and it's like they just keep getting those same types of scenes after the other, and it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't seem to affect the characters. It doesn't really seem like there's a sense of progression and them moving up, other than like, I guess you see they live in a nice house. It's like, okay, sure,
okay,
but like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mind the time jump, but like I need to have some sense of growth from scene 1 to scene 2, and there's none of that. It's just like it's not even like how that didn't provide them any happy. It's just sort of blah, and it made me feel really bad picking on this 0% Rotten Tomatoes film, 9 on Metacritic type of thing, when we still have a very big problem. And I realize I am part of that problem of white people being the mass amount of people reviewing films and dealing with these types of films. Obviously, there's going to be a lack of perspective there in terms of like, you know, like what trying to like understand what these films are going through. And it just, I got nothing. I genuinely got nothing. And I hope I'm being coherent in trying to, you know, like, brings me no type of satisfaction whatsoever to just be like, I literally got nothing to say about this other than it just made me sad. Like,
yeah, like I don't really get much of a kick out of watching bad movies that much, and like, but this was like one where it was like particularly dry, where like we just said a couple of the lines that did make us laugh and everything, but like those are like few and far in between. And
it's like 3 lines in 85 minutes.
Yeah, I literally, I felt like I was in a daze watching this, where I was just like, I'm just looking for anything, and I was just like, I know that I'm not the target audience. I know that I couldn't latch onto anything in this, and it just made me depressed. So.
But even something like a comedy like Paper Soldiers, which I'm bringing up because it has same people involved in both Rockefeller affiliated movies, something like even that, which is like mostly just a random comedy, you know, there's not that much, I mean, there's stakes, but it's a lot more lackadaisical than something like this, which is very, you know, gritty and crime ridden. Even that, it's like I know what Kevin Hart's girlfriend or wife is feeling about everything he's doing. I know that he has a kid. I know that after he does something, I know that there's going to be an elevation between that relationship, and then it goes through all of those arcs like a normal movie should, and it's just not like that with this.
Yeah, I mean, Paper Soldiers does have like the occasional, like that does have like a few things where it's like, wait, what's the point of this? Like Stacey Dash just being in there. It's like, I know she's like Damon Dash's cousin, but she's just like, she's just
nothing.
There, like
for no reason.
Yeah, and then but like it does have that kind of same problem where like there is kind of a saggy energy to the movie where it is just like kind of scenes just kind of like end with people like muttering to themselves, and then like it'll cut to a new scene, but like. And there's also problems with tone in that movie where it's like, you know, like, it'll be like, you know, Kevin Hart being like, making jokes about how short he is, and then 5 minutes later it'll be like Patrice O'Neal getting brutally murdered in front of him, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute. This is like, and like, it's not playing it for laughs, or like, it will play for laughs where it's like, there'll be like a brutal murder, and it's like, oh man, my gun's jamming, shit. And then like, they have to like run away. It's like, wait, what? Like, it doesn't really make sense, but yeah, you're right about the core stakes of that movie are pretty well fleshed out, even if like it does like have some of the problems with acting and like, you know, editing and stuff like that. You're right that there is like a more focus to that, and there's like funny, that movie's also like got like at least a few jokes to keep itself going, and like that will like stick in my head sort of like after I've seen the movie.
There's also simultaneously a grisliness to this movie and a sloppiness in terms of like something awful will happen and I'll be like, Jesus, but then also like it just looks bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
anytime somebody shoots a gun, it feels like I'm watching a GTA clip from like 03.
Yeah,
like it's rough.
There's a scene where, you know, they kidnap Beans' wife and another woman, and they shoot the other woman, and I was just like, ugh. And then like it doesn't even like look, like it doesn't look good, like to the point that I was just like, well, now I feel even terrible that I'm like looking at it aesthetically and being like, that looks like shit, and also not feeling the weight of a human life that's like been
and it plays
away.
weird because like before that his wife is like screaming and like, please help me, and then this woman gets shot, and then you hear nothing from her at all. It's just like there's no like, God, what do the people in this room think about this or anything like that. It's just completely just nothing.
And aren't they also going like, that's what the plastic wrap is for? Like it's like almost dark comedy. Like I couldn't get a read on the tone of this thing. I couldn't. I felt numb watching this, which is kind of the worst feeling I can feel
You were feeling numb encore. Watching
Thank
this.
you.
Oh, God
Thank
damn
you. I was hoping Bryden would do that. Okay. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Almost Major. Please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Please follow the pod on Twitter at Almost Major to keep up to date with what movies we will be covering in the future. Myself, I can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at KevBonesy. Bryden can be found on Twitter at Bryden Doyle and on Letterboxd at JDoyle. Charlie can be found on Twitter and Letterboxd at CTNash91. Once again, thank you for listening.